My friends, the Kremlin's doors have creaked open once more, this time for Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico. It's a rare sight these days, an EU leader willingly stepping into Putin's lair. But when your country's hooked on Russian gas like a cat on catnip, desperate times call for desperate measures. Meow, let's pause for a moment and consider the significance of this feline foray into the bear's den. This is one of the few engagements with an EU leader since Russia decided to play Invasion Extreme Edition with Ukraine back in February 2022. Fico, who's been in and out of power more times than a cat at a revolving door, is desperate to keep the gas flowing. You see, my friends, Slovakia is practically mainlining Russian gas, 83% of their imports. Talk about putting all your mice in one basket. But hold on to your whiskers, because this diplomatic tango between Fico and Putin is more twisted than a cat chasing its own tail. One misstep, and Slovakia could find itself out in the cold, literally, with the current gas transit agreement through Ukraine set to expire faster than milk left out on a hot day. Fico's playing a dangerous game of Simon Says with Putin, while the EU is shouting red light, green light. Fico, trying to sound diplomatic, said, "My meeting today was a response to the statement by Ukraine's president." Translation: help! Ukraine's cutting off our gas supply, and we're freezing our tails off. It's like Putin's hosting a twisted game show, Who Wants to Be a Gas Millionaire, with Fico as the desperate contestant, while in the background there's a sinister episode of Australia's Least Wanted playing out. And just when you thought this litterbox couldn't get any messier, meow comes the plot twist that's got everyone's fur standing on end. A video has surfaced showing the interrogation of an Australian prisoner of war by Russian forces. It's about as pleasant as a hairball in your favourite shoes, my friends. The footage shows Oscar Jenkins, a 32-year-old biology teacher, being slapped around like a mouse toy while answering questions in broken Russian. His hands are taped, and he's dressed in military fatigues, looking more confused than a cat in a dog park. The international community is hissing and arching their backs in disgust, with Australia demanding Russia comply with the Geneva Conventions faster than you can say scritches. Speaking of which, the Geneva Conventions are supposed to be the rulebook for war, as if war ever played by the rules. It's like expecting cats to follow a no-scratching sign, but Russia seems to be using these international laws as optional guidelines rather than binding agreements. It's like they've taken the choose-your-own-adventure approach to humanitarian law. But let's not forget, Putin's been playing the energy card like a master poker player, only the stakes are higher than a cat up a very tall tree. He's got half of Europe purring for his pipeline, while the other half is trying to scratch his eyes out. This former KGB operative turned eternal president has been pulling strings longer than a cat with a ball of yarn. And meow, with his recent decree allowing nuclear weapons use in response to conventional attacks, he's cranked up the tension dial to fur-raising. And Fico? He's strutting into Moscow like he's got 9 lives to spare, ignoring the fact that his EU littermates might just leave him out in the rain for this little stunt. It's like a game of diplomatic twister, with Fico trying to keep one hand on EU values, one foot in NATO, and somehow still reaching for Putin's gas valve. This diplomatic hairball is getting messier by the minute, and it seems Fico's not afraid to get his paws dirty. Fico's Russian rendezvous might just earn Slovakia the most likely to be uninvited from EU Potluck's award. But hey, at least they'll have gas to cook their goulash. This cosy chat over caviar and nuclear codes could have broader implications than a cat in a yarn store. Other EU countries are watching with tails twitching, wondering if they should follow Slovakia's lead or hiss in disapproval. My friends, if you're enjoying this geopolitical yarn ball as much as I am, why not bat that like button around like a playful kitten? And if you want to stay as informed as a CIA operative's pet cat, don't forget to pounce on that subscribe button. Meow, let's scratch a little deeper into this litterbox of international intrigue. Fico, the leader of the Direction Social Democracy Party, has a history more checkered than a cat's favourite napping quilt. He's been Prime Minister more times than I've had furballs, with his first term way back in 2006. His party's pro-Russian sentiment is about as subtle as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. Meanwhile, down under, the Aussies aren't taking this POW situation lying down. Foreign Minister Mark Dreyfus, with the fire of 1,000 laser pointers in his eyes, stated, "We urge the Russian government not to mistreat him and to treat Jenkins in accordance with these legal standards. Translation: Oi, Putin! Play nice or we'll sick our kangaroos on you. This whole situation is more tangled than a cat's cradle made by a drunken sailor. One wrong move, and the whole thing could unravel faster than a cheap ball of yarn. The EU's unity is stretching thinner than a cat on a hot tin roof, with Fico's Russian rendezvous ruffling more feathers in the Brussels henhouse than a cat in a chicken coop. As for the ongoing Ukraine conflict, it's like a never-ending game of territorial monopoly, only with real tanks instead of little metal ones. Putin's playing like he's got a get-out-of-war crimes free card, while the rest of the world is trying to send him directly to The Hague. Do not pass go. Do not collect 200 billion rubles. Looking ahead, this feline fracas could lead to a real catastrophe. We might see a domino effect of EU countries deciding to play Guess Who's Coming to Dinner with Putin. Energy policies could shift faster than a cat's mood, and international alliances might end up more scrambled than a bowl of kibble. As we wrap up this tangled ball of geopolitical yarn, let's remember that in this high-stakes game of cat and mouse, it's often the little guys who end up squeaking. Whether it's Slovakia trying to keep warm, Australia fighting for its captured citizen, or Ukraine caught in the crossfire, the consequences of these power plays stretch far beyond the Kremlin's walls. One thing's for sure, my friends, in this feline frenzy of international politics, we're all just trying to land on our feet. And while I'd rather be napping in a sunbeam than getting my paws wet in these murky diplomatic waters, curiosity got the better of this cat. After all, who can resist the allure of a good mystery, especially when it involves the inner workings of gas pipelines? It's almost as fascinating as the eternal question of why the red dot always escapes. Almost. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Ron de Parmesan, and this has been another Newscat special report.